What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Brandon Nash, aka Sergeant Nash.
And I'm Staff Sergeant Berriri, retired.
And this is Sergeant's Corner. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Okay. For the past week now, there's been a viral video floating around the military community. Most of you have seen it by now. I think it's been, what did we say, Mike, last Tuesday or so?
Yeah, I think
somewhere around there
already. So I know we're talking about it a little bit late.
Yep. So it just
saving best for last.
Yeah, best for last. Why not? We'll give you some input on what we think and share some personal experiences. So let's switch over. We'll go ahead and showcase the video for those who have not seen it. And from there, we will discuss.
Hey, listen, man. Don't put your goddamn hands on me.
You see how they, I don't like the aggression that this lieutenant colonel is admitting.
Look, I don't think this guy, when I saw the video, you know, he's on top of that, not just any lieutenant colonel, he's a battalion commander. He leads troops, and not just, you know, like he leads a whole battalion. So he's supposed to be the epitome of what leadership is supposed to be for his battalion level and below. You know, so he's supposed to be the example for all his officers under him. He's supposed to mentor all his officers, just like a sergeant major is supposed to mentor all his NCOs below him.
Right. And at his stature, right, he, like you said, is running a battalion. Why in the hell would somebody with that sort of public influence, we'll call it, right, and have the professionalism of a private? He's sitting there calling a sergeant first class a private in front of most likely her privates, right?
Yeah.
And there was a big thing when I had this big argument with the other NCOs because there was an incident with the soldiers and they tried to smoke the NCOs with the soldiers. And I said, I don't know what the fuck everybody does here, but that's not a thing. You don't smoke your NCOs with the soldiers, right? You leave it behind closed doors as a time and a place.
Yep.
So
you know what we call that? What do we call that? NCO business. We'll deal with that NCO behind closed doors. You
right. I mean, this is like the case of a lieutenant colonel. So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Even it's not just that. That was different NCO business, and then you had leadership.
Right.
We handled leader to leader, even mentoring LTs, sergeant first classes, platoon sergeants. You know, you best believe that platoon sergeant was doing everything in his power to empower that lieutenant, even though technically that sergeant first class is the one running things. But
yeah, and the lieutenant not knowing anything outranks them, right?
Exactly.
For those who don't know. So, and the thing is, you would never will you have a platoon leader unless they're green as fuck and they came from West Point. I've seen it maybe twice in 6 years that I served.
Yeah.
That a platoon leader would try to big boy platoon daddy, right?
Yeah.
And it never turns out well, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. You have to understand that a platoon sergeant is around mid 30s, I would say is the good general age, right? Maybe early 30s. Yeah. And you have this fresh ass lieutenant that comes out of college. They're 20 years old, 22 years old, whatever they are. And well, I went to college, so I know things. And this platoon sergeant over here has been in for 12 plus years. You know what I'm saying? But in this scenario, I don't know the full context. I don't think anybody does. From what I saw, it looks like in APFT, what's it called now? It's called something else.
ACFT?
It's not ACFT. I think it's AFT or something. Whatever AFT, the new shit is.
AFT.
Army ACT, fitness test, right?
Yeah.
Army fitness test or Army combat test? Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Combat test. I think it's ACT.
So where they're at, there's this run route that they have, and everybody knows it. This is where you run for your timed run. So to me, it looks like this lieutenant colonel is upset because those who are not running are standing in the middle of the road. That's all I could tell from the context of the video because it starts so late, right? Yeah. Now, Sergeant Nash, back in the day, I could tell you honestly, if I was that NCO and this lieutenant colonel ran up to get the fuck off the road, the first thing coming out of my mouth is going to be, yes, sir. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm very conflicted when I see it because I'm looking at it as a man, as a veteran, as somebody who doesn't like to be disrespected. But when I think back, I'm like, at the end of the day, when you're in the military, you're there to serve under command, not alongside the command, not above the command. You're under the command. So rank equals right, even when they're wrong, you know? So, and that's going to be the problem with a lot of people. I've been seeing a lot of reaction videos, and it seems there's a lot of feelings versus what reality is. You're in the military, feelings don't fucking matter, right?
Yeah.
But I will say, I think that motherfucker is unprofessional as hell. It looks like he's trying to show this aggression. You see him, he's like puffing up, like, don't you fucking touch me. Like, what do you mean, pal? The guy was just saying, we're sorry, sir, whatever he was saying.
Yeah.
And he's over there like he's going to do something. And I don't know if you've ever engaged an officer. They don't do nothing, right? A couple of run-ins, yeah. I'll fucking write you up, buddy. I've been there, dude. You know what I mean? And they don't stand on business. It's one thing if that dude, right? And I'm not promoting any violence, by the way. No, not whatsoever. I'm not promoting anything. I'm not saying you should do anything. I'm just saying, if an officer said, hey, whatever happens, there is no repercussion, and then they want to act on it, hey, dude, all respect, right? That's different. Yeah. But instead, they want to get in your face. They're going to tell you, don't you fucking touch me. And then all they're going to do is paperwork and probably try to kick you out. They're going to Article 15 you. They're going to UCMJ, whatever they can. So I understand that people are very frustrated right now with this lieutenant colonel. I haven't really decided how I feel on it because, like I said, I know for sure if that was me, just because I tried to be the best soldier I could, it would have been, yes, sir, my apologies. Everybody get the fuck off the road. And instead, this Sergeant First Class kind of bucked back and was like, I'm fucking running the ACFT or whatever the fuck she said, you know? Go ahead and give me your thoughts, Mike.
Yeah, I do not agree with you there. Let me tell you why I don't agree with you. Everyone can do on-the-spot correction.
Yeah.
Right? The way he did it was not how an officer should do it or is expected to do it. One, every battalion commander, especially during runs or any, checking out your formations or anything like that, who was right next to them?
Well, usually Sergeant Major.
Yeah, Sergeant Major. Yes. They're most senior enlisted. That every time there was any sort of issues with enlisted, the officer would step back, right? The sergeant major, either they already had that, a lot of them have that special connection to where they understand each other without even talking. Like, hey, handle that. Like,
well, yeah, you got to think they're both in over 20 years at this point.
So the officer will walk away. The sergeant major will start hamming up some people.
Oh yeah, everybody's getting lit up at that point.
Exactly. Everybody. Or that officer will walk away with a sergeant major. Hey, tell him like, hey, listen, sergeant major, I have an issue with this. I need you to go find out why the hell they were standing out in the middle of the road and take care of that. And then the sergeant major would do sergeant major things and make shit happen. Like, hey, Sergeant First Class, I need you and your first sergeant come see me or whatever. Right. You know what I mean? That's how it's handled. The way this officer did it, right? Regardless of whether he had the right or not to say it, which he does, he's an officer, is not, you can give orders, right? As a leader, as an officer, and people have to follow it, but you're going to lose respect. You're going to create a toxic environment. You know what I mean? And this battalion commander, the way he acted, is the epitome of giving off toxic environment aura, basically. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He had one. Where was his sergeant major? Because every time a battalion commander runs a PT, right? When they're doing runs by themselves, he always has his sergeant major with him. Like I worked in staff so many times, man. Like I've every chain of command that I've had, the battalion commander always ran with his sergeant major, or sometimes he would run with his officers. They would do officer PD, basically. Like like leadership training. They would consider it.
Right. They would do it
You
like
know?
once a week or so.
So
Just
the good leadership that I've seen, the mentoring is genuine and true. Like, hey, let's go do PT 2 weeks from now. And they'll put it out in training. All officers, you're going to do PT with a battalion commander, and he will legit go run with them. And then he'll stop at some like open field. They'll do stretches, and he will talk to them. I've seen it because I had nothing to do. Like, I think I was on profile. I just got done with surgery, and I had to take pictures of them. So I've actually seen this firsthand, and he's talked to them, asked them questions. How's your troops? How's your family? So I've seen both sides.
Yeah, I've had some good ones like that. But here's where I will contest you, right? So clearly, I'm going to say both parties lost some military bearing, right? Because a sergeant first class has no right bucking up to a lieutenant colonel or any officer or anybody in general. It takes two people to engage to make the argument, right?
Yeah.
So I want to know why a sergeant first class thinks you have the right to sit there and argue with the officer. Like you said, there was a right way for him to do it. But at the same time, what kind of leadership is she if she feels that comfortable to say, I'm fucking doing this? That's where my conflict is, because I'm agreeing with you on how he reacted. Absolutely bullshit. That is a toxic leader for sure. But I didn't like, there's people with their phones out filming.
Right. So I think the people taking the video, you'll see there were a lot of people that were part of the detail. Like, they weren't conducting PT. They were part of the detail. There were graders. There were road guards, whatever. Right. And I think one of the persons that was videotaping was one of these.
And I'll agree with you.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. You could see them moving off the road as he's yelling at them.
Yeah.
They're all walking. They're just chilling. So I'm going to assume he was pissed off. He's out there doing PT, trying to do the right thing. Maybe Sergeant Major fucking told him, "You're fat, sir. Get the fuck out of here." You never know, right? It could be anything. We have no idea.
If I was the Sergeant Major, I would have taken him on a run.
As an NCO, right?
Yeah.
As an NCO, we know this is a run route, right? Why would you not police up your people? Hey, when you're done, get the fuck off the road, right? So there's a couple things that in the video that I don't like, because I was an NCO. I know, hey, fucking, there's a possibility Lieutenant Colonel could be running down this road. Get the fuck off the road. You know what I'm saying?
It does not matter. It does not matter whether he was in the wrong or right. As soon as he lost his military bearing, it's out the window why he was losing his military bearing. You know what I mean? So granted, he might have had a good point. Like, hey, if you're not conducting a PT test, you need to be off the road. Like, if you're not actively participating in the APFT or ACFT, whatever it is, if you're a grader, I can understand you trying to see where they're at, because most graders, they have to look for their people. You have to physically look for them and look at the time that they came in. Yeah.
So there was a couple. We used to have stopwatches, and then we also had the big clock. I've done both.
Yeah. So we have the big clock. For example, Fort Bragg, I'm going to mention Fort Bragg because I spent a lot of my time in Fort Bragg. Yeah. Like 7-8 years, right? On our dens, that's the main PT route. Everyone does PT on our dens. There's designated areas where you can see the markings where it says 18th Fires Brigade PT test. Whatever, right?
It'll have the marks of the road, like the 92nd Engineers. They didn't have that marked out. It was just like, hey, you see that light pole, and they didn't go from there.
I remember. Yeah. Most NCOs know that there's a state. We include that in our safety brief. Like, hey, stick to the right. If someone's in your way, make sure you yell and say, hey, PT, APFT taker, please step aside, or to your right, to your left, whatever. You know what I mean? And we always told them, as soon as you went through the finish line, just go straight to the left.
Right.
Exactly. It was the NCO's job, because a lot of people that are taking the APFT, when they get to the road, they're fucking dead, bro. They're not thinking about that shit. So NCOs who are running the APFT, all right, come on, let's go, move along. I agree with you. Okay, that NCO, if she was in charge,
she clearly was, because she's the one arguing with them. So you can assume that she's the one in charge.
She was, exactly. So I don't think she was maybe she wasn't doing a good job with wrangling. I'm sure she had a lot going on, but that's when your other NCOs come and play. Now, hear me out. right? Regardless of whether she was in the wrong or not, as soon as that lieutenant commander started cussing her out and acting unprofessional, you lost all respect. You lost all ammunition for whatever it was.
Yeah.
That you had to like it's gone. You lost your right. You know
Yeah,
what I
once
mean?
once the
Because-
military bearing's out the window, now you're just kind of you're both degraded to people. You're no
Yeah.
your rank doesn't really exist, but
it does.
we're talking about a
It
lieutenant
does,
colonel here, brother. We already
It
know.
does. But that's what I'm saying. It does. In this situation, it does.
Yeah.
Because if you have a sergeant first class and a lieutenant colonel acting a fool with each other, who is to blame?
Yeah,
If they're
somebody
both doing
else
it.
should have stepped up
If
to
they're
be a
both doing it.
mediator, right?
They did. They did. But guess what? That lieutenant colonel didn't want to hear it. What did
Correct.
he say at the end? Hey, get your hand off me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No,
So
you
he was
forgot
out of
this.
control. There was no. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
I don't know why
get your hand
people do
off me.
that.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't
because he's fucking up.
What the fuck?
Because
They
his
put but they put
gentleness-
the shoulders forward.
I
You know, it's
because
that
he's
way.
a peacock. He was peacocking. You know,
Yeah.
he was being a peacock, basically.
Backwards.
He was gonna puff up his shit. Yes. You know, but that's what I'm saying. It's that he did everything wrong. that
Absolutely.
lieutenant colonel. And there was a mediator there. Even the sergeant first class fixed herself. And hey, we're doing an APFD, sir. And she kept adding sir at the end.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she found her military bearing. In my opinion, she did. She lost it for a second, but at least she had the clarity of mind to regain it and add sirs at the end and chill out. He did not.
No, you're absolutely right.
This is 100%. Like this dude does not need to be leading soldiers. I think he needs to work behind some desk, at a staff position. He should not be leading soldiers, and that's my opinion.
There's a couple things, and we don't want to drag it out too much. We'll give some personal experiences. I have a pretty good one that will give some insight. And the thing with officers, man, they have this stigma to them, especially for fuck's sake, if they went to West Point, dude. If they went to West Point, all I ever hear is at West Point. The ones that never went to West Point, they went to regular colleges. They never once tell you about college. I used to hear it all the time, like, dude, shut the fuck up, brother. You don't even know what you're doing. I think they tell the officers all this shit about how they should act because it's every single one of them. I think they do it to fuck with people. No matter what, the lower rank's wrong until they're right.
Yeah, I hate videos like this because you're not seeing the whole picture. You know what I mean?
But to be fair,
this sergeant first class cussed this lieutenant colonel.
Right, we have no idea. We don't know what happened.
No idea. We don't know what led up to this. But in my opinion, regardless of what led up to this, as a lieutenant colonel, you do not lose your composure like that. You do not lose your professionalism.
We would hope anyway.
We would hope, exactly. Because if you do, like this gentleman did, you should not be a leader.
But here's the other thing, though, that I'll add before we move on. People are still people regardless of rank, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's say we have no idea. The wildest thing, his mother could have died that morning. So I would love for people to give him the benefit of the doubt. I would say they're both wrong. From what I witnessed, you're both wrong. Benefit of the doubt, it should be handled and it should be discussed with higher and say, listen, this is unacceptable, right? And like I said, what if the guy lost his mother, his wife? Like, you have no idea. I watched the video probably 30 times, and the second he tells that dude that's just trying to mediate, don't you fucking touch me, I get completely furious because I don't like disrespect. I don't care who the fuck you are. There's no reason to disrespect somebody. I know he's just trying to be, and he's probably an E5 or E6 because I doubt a fucking lower enlisted would go up to the lieutenant colonel would try to touch him. That seems like a sergeant type thing. Like, hey, come on, we're all friends here. And then he gets fucking, don't you fucking touch me. It's like, damn, brother, chill out.
You know what I would have done? I would have
shit your pants.
And gave him a big hug. Come here.
You would have shit your pants.
Come here.
If you would have hugged him, you'd be sharped. UCM did. You'd be sitting in Leatherworth for 3 years for sexual assault. Is what would have happened. I have a perfect story now that we're talking about representation and being wrong. 2019. The whole company, we're in the field. We're out there for probably 2 weeks at this point. My company commander at the time, undoubtedly the worst company commander I've ever had. You know what I mean? Till the very end. He was,
I've had a couple of those, yeah.
I won't say that because the last one was pretty shit too. 2,300. We're trying to bed down for the night. We all have to be up at 05. At 2,300, this guy pulls a company formation in the field.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the fuck is going on, dude? We're trying to bed down, you know? And he swears himself that someone stole his portable charger out of his LMTV, out of his bag. He swore to everybody, I know somebody stole it. We're like, in my thought, I'm like, first off, this is a really chill company, by the way. It was the best company I've ever been in. And I'm like, the people who would steal from you aren't out here because they're shitbags on profiles back at the cough. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this is bullshit. I guarantee you he lost it. By, I think it was 02, he finds it in the LMTV. It had fallen down underneath the seat. He finally goes back because the first sergeant told him, you need to go back and check. We were checking everywhere. They tossed everybody's shit just to be safe.
Oh my God.
He pulls the company formation and says, listen, everybody, I want this to be a lesson that I do not tolerate theft.
Instead of an apology, that's what he said.
Instead of apologizing that it was his own fault, he just said, I don't tolerate theft. And we're like, wow, you fucking piece of trash. And guess where he went to college?
West Point.
Motherfucking West Point.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely a problem. Now I'm glad you brought up West Point. This is what I wanted to bring up about West Point when you were talking about it. I think the issue is, I actually had a friend that went to West Point, and he changed. You know what I mean? Because it's a prestigious school. You need to get your congressman to write a recommendation letter for you to be able to enter into West Point. And you need to do a bunch of other stuff, right? Now, once you're in, you're basically getting sold on this pristine, what it is to be a West Pointer, the history, the pride. So they're basically brainwashing you and conditioning you to believe that you're better than anyone else. You made it, brother. You are a West Point cadet. And then when you graduate, you're a West Point graduate. It doesn't get any better than this. You're better than anyone. You know what I mean? And you leave this facility, this 4-year institution, you leave this institution with this thought in your head that basically you're better than everyone. And that's why I've always had issues with West Point. Even amongst the officers, bro, I've in my career, I've dealt with a lot of officers. I've worked with a lot of officers, with our coalition partner officers on my deployments, and officers in different branches and whatnot. And most of the officers that I talk to, there's actually two sections, two groups. Ones that went to West Point and ones that did not. And they actually hate each other. The West Pointers think low of those officers that didn't go to West Point. You know what I mean? Not as low as enlisted. I noticed one of the battalion commanders I was working in that I really didn't like. He was very toxic. I got to work with him at the staff level a lot. And every time we had new officers come in, he was either asking the clerks like, hey, did you go to West Point? I think green to gold is probably my favorite because they were prior service. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The most respect I have, officers, every officer that was prior service and an NCO, I chased points, man, for for E5 and E6. I had to chase points. I was sitting at 798, like my cutoff was 798 for my MOS at the time. We were in a star MOS. They weren't picking up anyone for E5. They weren't picking up anyone for E6s. I was at the top of the OML, I think, for E5 at one point, and maybe even E6. Like I had maxed my points that I could get. I had I think 690 or something like that, and I had the highest points.
And when did you join? You joined in 06, 7,
2005. 2005, 2006, I think. Yeah.
Beginning of 6.
Yeah, 2006.
So he knows what the fuck he's talking about. All right. For whoever wants to jump in our comments talking shit. It's like the army or maybe military in general. It's like, how can we make them look stupid? You know what I mean? That was my whole thought the whole time. We don't want them to look cool. You know, the only cool thing we get is our combat uniforms when we go downrange.
Yeah. So the BDUs, when I first came in, you had to like shine your boots and stuff still.
Yeah.
You had to starch your greens, you know, and I think that took away whenever they switched to the digital and the OCPs, that took away a lot of discipline from soldiers, because guess what you have to do that Sunday night? You have to starch your damn BDUs, shine your boots, you know, and get everything ready, because what happened first formation, we had uniform inspections on Mondays. You know what I mean?
Did you ever, when we got out, did you end up getting pink and greens at the end or no?
I think I ordered them, but then I couldn't afford it because I needed money to move.
I wanted to get them. What was it, like $1,200 for the set or something?
I'm still gonna get them. You can still get them.
I thought about it just so I could hang it up. I'm one of those guys.
No, there's nothing wrong with that, bro.
I just think, the reason I don't think I'm going to get them, matter of fact, is just because I didn't get to wear them when I served.
Yeah.
I think that was such bullshit. They should have given them out to everybody. You know what I mean? Because all the new kids that came in, when did they switch that? 2022 or 21?
The pinks and greens, they started
where they gave them.
Oh, sorry,
I think it was 21.
Yeah, I think 22. I'm
pretty sure. I think it was 21 because I came to Georgia in 21. I'm pretty sure the cycle of privates that came. Because I was like, what the fuck is this? You know? And then they want us to, do uniform inspections. I'm like, this shit's so new. I don't know what they're supposed to look like. You know?
And I love those. The pinks and greens are probably the best uniforms.
Because you don't have to do anything.
No, but on top of that, it makes you look so professional, man. That's taking it back to World War II, brother. Like,
I know. It looks really cool. And the biggest thing is so easy for the blue ASUs, dude. I hate them.
The blues were okay.
They
weren't the
good.
worst. They look good because I think that was the Civil War era. So the greens was like Vietnam era. Blues were Civil War era, I believe. And then now pinks and greens were World War II.
Don't quote him.
I think World War II. Don't quote me. Yeah, I need somebody to fact check me.
Don't you quote him.
Yeah.
He's fucking old.
Fact checker. I am. You know, got a couple of TBIs, man. My noggin brain.
Yeah, when you
look, let's not. That's another story. But I really love
we're saving that.
That's a funny story, but we'll tell it at another show. We'll save that for a special day. But I think the pinks and greens are nice, bro.
Yeah, last thing on ASU, just because it's relevant to me. Sergeant Major, dude, he was so annoying. I took a female. I had to sponsor her. And when you set a female's uniform up with ASUs and you do the quarter check, everything's fine. When they put it on, you'll never guess that females have breasts. So it pops everything up.
Yeah.
So I checked it. We went in. He checks it. What the fuck is this? And I'm like, I just checked it, dude. You know what I mean? And it will show off because their chest, it pops them up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hated it. It was the dumbest thing ever.
I told my females, like, any female soldier I had, I would make him put.
You'd have to wear it and then do it.
No, no. You get a plastic back plate and you basically piercing through it.
We use cardboard.
Wall. Yeah, cardboard is.
We'll take a piece. We'll rip a piece of cardboard and do it. But I did all that, and it's still. She actually got kicked out of the board. I felt terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty.
Yeah, I was like, wow, dude, that's fucked up. But again, it's these leaders, man, that I don't think they even want to be in. For those who don't know, you have to put a packet in to get out. When you're in depth, you don't get to just leave. You have to submit to leave. And I had a first sergeant. He had to do it 2 times, and they got denied. They're like, "Nah, you're gonna stay," and he was fucking pissed. You know, he's like, "What the fuck, dude? You know, at your 20, you're ready to get out. You'll get out 22 years when I tell you to."
I used to do that a lot back when the war kicked off. Sergeant first classes, even staff sergeant that wanted to retire that had the time, because I think at the time they were offering 15-year retirement if you hit your 15-year or early retirement. So there was a lot of staff sergeants putting in their retirement packets, or sergeant first classes putting in their retirement packets, and they were getting denied because of the war and because of the type of job they did. And at that point, why would the Army want to do that and keep somebody that's going to be disgruntled in?
Right.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
because
Like,
I'll tell you
you're
why.
losing
It
that
costs
quality.
money. It costs money to get the guy, the next person, to rank up. Sergeant Major's Academy, how much do you think they spend
I
per
think
person on it?
so. I think it's more of they think, all right, so we have a lot of it could be shortage on on the rank, but at the same time, I think they want to retain that training, they retain that knowledge as long as possible to pass on to troops.
Right, because
I
if
think-
you start shifting away from tradition,
Yeah. hmm
you're going to get the change, and sometimes you don't want it.
Yeah.
That's where we get to these feelings, like how you feel about this guy, and I'm feeling a different way. It just depends because we start to shift into, well, that's not right. You shouldn't treat somebody like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the military, so nobody gives a fuck,
hmm
I had, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this. We are running out of time here, so I'll make it quick. My last platoon sergeant, awesome guy. I hope we can get him on the show at some point because he's such a trip.
Yeah.
I've never seen this ever. He was at 19 years, maybe 18 and a half, and I was already leaving. And I think when I left, they hit him with drill sergeant orders for his last year.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's your last fuck you for sure. I have never seen somebody get drill orders at 19 years.
Crazy.
He's like, what the fuck?
That's
so he
crazy.
went to be a drill, I think, for 1 year, and they let him out. Anyway, that is our special episode of our ranting. I hope you liked it. Leave some comments below what you think. That is our thoughts, and we don't really give a shit otherwise.
So definitely leave comments. Let us know what you think about these special Hipfire specials is what we're going to call them. Anytime like some special event happens, that's some viral moment, military or
I would say mostly military for sure. I think this
military,
will be our insight because this is something that we can relate to, and we have a lot of experience when it comes to the bullshit. So that being said, as always, 22 seconds your way.
Peace and love, baby.
Deuces.